we're tasting Glenlivet at the moment, but could you tell me the Glen, which is Valley of the Rhinestone Cowboy?
Glen Campbell.
Boom!
Yes! Yes!
Valley of the Land Down Under.
Glen Chunder?
Glen at Work.
Glen at... Oh, that's very good.
Mate, this is
Work.
podcast gold, this is. Valley of the Galaxy Defenders.
Glen Men in Black. What?
Well, Glen in Black. But never mind.
Glen in Black.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from this now. This is atrocious podcasting.
This week on Whiskey and Things, we talk to each other.
And we sample our first Glen in the form of the Glenlivet Founders Reserve single malt Scotch whiskey. And we hear words come out of the Whisky God's mouth. Yes.
Don't forget, please get in contact and get involved on our social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter at Whiskey and Things, and we're on Instagram at Whiskey and Things Podcast. That's whiskey without an E.
And don't forget, you can rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred, your least favourite, and your middle child podcast platforms, because they all deserve love. They all deserve love.
They do.
You're listening to the Whiskey and Things podcast with Dave Giles and Nick Kent.
Welcome to this week's episode of Whiskey and Things. I'm Dave Giles.
And I am Nick Kent.
This is episode 13.
Episode 13, Baker's Dozen. Unlucky for some. Out of the last 13 or the last 12 episodes, which one do we burn, Dave?
I don't know. But Houston, we've had a problem. We've got no guest.
Oh, you think it's this one? Out of the Baker's Dozen, we've burnt this one because we have no guest. No, it's fine.
We have no guest.
It's fine, don't worry about it.
We don't have a guest this week. And the reason we don't have a guest this week is because we never intended on there being a guest every week.
There's never meant to be a guest every week.
We figured that when we started this, it was at the start of lockdown, and we had 6 weeks of lockdown. Well, we'll have 6 guests on, and then we can go and do stuff. Well, it turned out it's gone on a bit longer. So
yeah,
we kept up with the guests. And then we've just decided that we forgot that we weren't supposed to have a guest. So we're going to try one without.
Yeah. And as well, like at the beginning, we were still working out what this podcast was, and we found a format which worked, which had a guest with 2 segments, and then every week we just copied and pasted, got another guest, copied and pasted, and suddenly we're 12 episodes down, and we haven't done one, just 2 of us. So
just the 2 of us.
Just the 2
like
of
nature
us.
intentioned. Like nature intended, Rob.
Like nature intended.
What did I just say?
Across a Zoom call. Or
across a Zoom call.
Or a house party
300
call.
miles away.
However we do this. But there we go.
So new format this week. We're going to try and mess it up a little bit and see what comes out. So let us know your thoughts on how we get on with this. We do have some thoughts on last week's show, Nick. I'm not going to lie. We did all that work, 48 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And all anyone wants to talk about is Marty McFly.
I don't know why I bother. We did one run. It was like 52 minutes. Then we cut the fat and we got down to 48.
Yeah, tried really hard.
Really
all
hard.
anyone wants to talk about is that pesky fly. So, he seems to be polarising opinion as well, if I'm brutally honest.
Makes a change.
For example, Kate Sharp says, on this week's episode, a heart-wrenching ballad on love, life, loss and whiskey by the vastly underrated Marty McFly.
Really? Yeah, he hasn't been nominated for any awards yet, has he? So, yeah, he should be.
Well, Amar has said that we need to find Marty McFly and get him a record deal.
Okay.
But Lauren is saying, Marty needs to stick with chasing the cursor on Nick's monitor.
He was good at that.
And someone, just to continue to toy with your emotions, Nick, someone has actually set up a Marty McFly Twitter account, and Marty has tweeted us, I'm having to fill the void of having no whiskey by writing songs at Nick Kent. How could you do this to me? It's not my fault.
I don't care.
It's just
good riddance.
It's just bullying.
Good riddance. I don't care anymore.
Didn't you think he was back this week though?
I did, yeah, but then I tested it with the cursor under him. He did follow it.
Didn't chase the cursor.
No, he did follow it. No, there's another video I haven't sent you, Dave, actually.
What?
There was.
Is he back?
There was one
Is he back?
I don't know if it's him. I can't believe I'm even entertaining this concept anymore. No, I'm not doing it. I'm an artist.
You're done.
I'm a serious artist. Okay? I'm done with all this.
All right.
Seriously.
Should we crack on with this
Let's
week's
just
show?
crack on. I'm done.
Whiskey bots, roll out.
This week's whiskey
Is the Glenlivet Founders Reserve.
We have a Glen.
We have a Glen. Why are we doing it this week? Because it was on offer in Tesco. And I've nearly finished the bottle, so we need to do it so I can finish the bottle and not feel guilty.
How much was it, Nick? Just out of curiosity, because I had this little gift bottle that someone had gave me years ago, and I hadn't got round to it. I don't know how long ago I've had this actually, so I'm hoping it's all right. But how much was your? Was it 70 cl?
Yep, standard 70 cl. Usually they're 33 quid, but Tesco were doing it for 23, which was a steal.
It's not bad,
Really?
is it? It's not bad.
That's a good deal, that. But yeah, it's a Glen. It's our first Glen, and it's also a Speyside. Speyside.
I like space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me there was space whiskies? What?
I thought you'd know, Dave. I thought you'd know this stuff. We'll talk more about the Speyside stuff probably next week because we didn't know we were doing 2 Speysides in a row, to be honest. But next week we're doing a Speyside as well. Speyside is a region of the highlands area.
Right.
It's an area of the highlands where, because of a certain river, the River Spey, there was an absolute huge density. You are my density. Density of distilleries. Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's
Always love a Back to the Future
Yeah,
reference. Well done. Well done.
Density.
Density. For those of you who can't see, Nick is even doing the hand gesture with shaking hand,
Density.
just like George McFly.
What a legend. But yeah, there was a load
Wonderful.
of distilleries, high density in one area, so they kind of called it Speyside. And it does have certain flavours.
Even though it's in the middle of the Highland region.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick, a lot of people who perhaps aren't big whiskey people, and I consider myself one of those as well, because as much as I enjoy drinking it, I don't know much about it. You've been teaching me a lot. Every now and then I look something up. But people in it will go into like their supermarket, get to the whiskey aisle, and see all these Glens. Mm-hmm. What is a Glen?
What is a Glen?
Who is Glen? Or who is he? Is it the master distiller?
Glen, yeah. He invented whiskey, actually.
Oh, right. Okay. That all makes sense now.
Some say it's actually the Whisky God's first name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's a rumour.
All right. We'll have to ask him about that.
We'll ask him at some point. Probably next week, though, yeah? Next week. But Glen means valley in Gaelic.
Oh, okay. Valleys in Scotland.
Yeah. So we're talking like Glenlivet. The valley's called, it's Glen, it's a valley, and the river that runs through it is called the Livet. That's where they get their name from.
Lovely.
Glenfiddich means valley of the deer.
Right.
There's deer in that valley, apparently. Anyway, let's talk about this Glenlivet Founders Reserve. The Founders Reserve is their entry level. It was launched in 2015. Before that, the 12-year-old was their entry level, which is quite old, I think, for an entry level, which is why this came out. It's the second most popular malt whiskey. It's the second biggest selling malt whiskey in the world after Glenfiddich.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised at that as well.
We've had a couple of people get in contact on Facebook who have some opinions about Glenlivet. So I think we should read them out before we get cracking.
Yeah.
Because I think these are kind of interesting. So we've had 2 people, and they're new people, Nick. They're new people.
New people.
People we've not heard from before. Which is lovely. Don't forget, we do let people know what whiskey we're trying next week. So it's always great to hear from people. We heard from Chris Payne on Facebook.
Hello.
Actually, both of these are on Facebook. And Chris Payne has said that he's never actually tried the Founders Reserve, but he hopes that it's as good as the 15 and the 18th, because if it would be, then it will be superb. When I said that I believed that this was the entry-level one, he said, that's a shame. However, I haven't been disappointed with anything they've produced, so hopefully it's nice and also reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And you would assume that with it being such a good seller, it is good. I don't think I've ever had it. Also, we've heard from Matthew Rodwell, also on Facebook, and he said it's not as good as the 12. It is their entry level, but it's still miles better than a stock blended like Black Label or Ballantine's. He said he's terrible at tasting notes, but he always gets apples and pears with the Glenlivet line and a little caramel.
Yeah, totally. Hello, Matt.
Interesting that he likes the stairs.
Yeah.
So thanks for Matthew and to Chris for getting in contact about that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it doesn't have a age on it, because with this one they've mixed barrels of different ages together. So
right. So remind me how they can do that and it still be a single malt?
Because it's all from one distillery. They're different aged barrels from the Glenlivet distillery. It's not like with
right. Okay.
Johnny Walker, for example. They're a blend. They don't have age statements on a lot of theirs because they've been blending different distilleries together. For example.
Right. Okay.
So it's still a single malt.
Right. On the eyes, this one's quite pale, I think.
It is.
Compared to some others we've done recently. It's quite yellow.
Yeah.
Straw, yes, good. Nice. Like that.
Like that one.
Yeah. It looks like wee. I'm not going to lie.
It looks like you've had a night out and this is the morning.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
This is a morning after whiskey look. It smells smoky.
You getting smoke?
I don't know.
I haven't really got the smoke, to be honest. I still get the fruit loaf kind of vibe from it.
I'm definitely getting it. I'm getting the fruits, the apples and the pears.
Yeah, definitely a pear, more citrus kind of thing.
It does smell like a strong cider.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Probably won't taste like one, but it definitely smells like one. It's got an apple juicy smell. And it looks like apple juice, in fairness. So that's,
Maybe it is. Get a bit of toffee on the palate.
Do I get toffee on the palate? Yeah, I do get toffee on the palate. Yep. It took a while, but I did get there in the end.
Yeah.
I think it's because I went for the smell and it was so appley. I was expecting something so different when it hit my tongue. I think I still am getting that. Weirdly, smells of apple taste more like pear, like a pear drop.
Oh, yes. I know what you mean.
Those like boiled sweets.
Yeah, totally.
Pear drop things. It's got a lot of that in it, and the fizziness of that as well. It feels like.
Wasn't there a pear and custard one? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly it.
The yellow,
that rhubarb custard, yellow and red one.
Yeah.
It's got that in there. There's definitely a bit of that in there.
I want to try the older ones.
Yeah,
I want to try the older ones.
Yeah, me too. If someone were to buy me a bottle of this, I wouldn't be unhappy.
Yeah.
It would get. You drink it, but you know how there's some whiskies you get and you're like, oh, not again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to re-gift this.
White and McKay or something.
Yeah, bells. But this is definitely nowhere near that category. This is a very pleasant whiskey.
These are very pleasant.
If someone got you the 15 or the 18, not we've tried them, I think it'd be a little bit more like, oh, interesting.
I've got a bottle of 12 over there, but it's in my. I'm not going to. It's one I'm not opening. I got it in 2005, 2006, and I haven't opened it.
Good year. What? Why?
When I was in Tat, I won it at a Christmas party for our publishers, and I kind of vowed, I'm not opening this until we've had a platinum album or this, that and the other. And I still haven't opened it because I feel like if I open it, then that's it. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen for me. I'm never going to be on a platinum album. So I've had it for how many years? 15 years?
I'm going to share a story here. Did you remember a band called the Dum Dums?
Yeah.
All right, so these were a fairly big pop punk band, like British pop punk band, pre-Busted, and it was very cheesy.
It's very pop,
teenage pop music, but with guitars, right? Adolescent-based songs. Now, they apparently, when they formed, said, when we've played Wembley Stadium, we'll quit.
Right.
First album comes out, it's doing really well, like it's getting radio play. I think they had a number one single off it, which back then meant people were actually buying it.
Yep.
Because this was like 2001, I believe, maybe 2002, into 2002. And then they supported, it was either Robbie Williams or Bon Jovi. I think it was Robbie Williams at Wembley Stadium.
That'll work, yeah.
And they quit.
Was that it?
That was it. They split up because they supported, so rather than being like, maybe we should say headline.
Yeah. No.
Wembley. Because played it. And they stuck to their guns and quit.
Mate.
And the singer Josh has gone off and tried to have his own solo career. Some of the others have ended up doing TV work. I can't remember doing what. I think one of them ended up in the band for Ricky Gervais's thing. Anyway, or maybe two of them. I can't remember. The
respect
David Brent
to them,
show.
though. That's great. I love that.
I know. Because literally they were riding high, major label deals, doing all that. And they just went, nope, we played Wembley. We're done.
Job done. Ticked.
Job done.
Mate.
Job done.
Yeah, good for them. I like that story.
I wonder whether they had a bottle of Glenlivet for that as well. When we've drunk this bottle of whiskey, we'll quit.
Yes. Right. You can hear what the Whisky God has to say about the Glenlivet Founders Reserve later in the show.
Let's get the things over with.
Should we carry on talking about Wembley Stadium and stuff?
Yeah, all right. Talking of Wembley Stadium.
I put up a couple of prints this week of some photos I'd taken of like Tom Petty and Frank Turner.
They weren't at Wembley Stadium.
No, they weren't, but it got me thinking about old gigs and my favourite gigs I'd ever seen.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it got me thinking about my first gig.
Wasn't it Wembley Stadium?
It was a Wembley Stadium.
Who was it?
We're talking old Wembley Stadium.
Yeah,
well.
obviously.
Twin Towers.
Yeah.
1999. I'll set the scene. 17-year-old Nick Kent.
Yeah.
Working as an apprentice mechanic in Bromley.
Yeah.
One of the other mechanics has a spare ticket. Aerosmith, Wembley Stadium.
That was your first ever gig?
My first proper gig. I've been to other ones like at the Tunbridge Wells Forum and stuff like that. Shitty little gigs. This was my first big kind of concert.
Big concert.
Yeah.
That's not about... Who was supporting? You must remember.
Oh, God, yeah. Opening, 3 Colours Red. Remember them?
Nice. Yeah,
Chris McCormack.
Yeah.
You might have met Chris McCormack. He runs like club nights in Camden.
Mate, name rings a bell. Name definitely rings a bell.
Yeah, he runs a club night in Camden at what is now the Camden Assembly, which I hope will come back very soon. After that, Stereophonics.
No way. They were supporting.
Yeah.
99. So no, 2 albums that they had 2 out. The second album was out.
Yeah.
And they were supporting Aerosmith.
Yeah. So you had 3 Colours Red. Stereophonics. Mate, the list gets longer and longer. They come out, they open with Bartender and the Thief.
Yeah, of course they do.
Right? With the gold top Les Paul, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That came out in November of the year before. Oh, mate. And he kicked the football into the crowd and all that kind of stuff. Who comes up after that? The Black Crowes.
Another... How long is this lineup?
That's the thing. They kept adding people.
Who else?
Oh, but Dave, there's one more. Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, my God. How much was the ticket?
I can't remember. It wasn't much. Well, not like today's standards, you know what I mean? It's more like 40 quid or something.
That would have been a 300 quid ticket today.
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing. Back then, it was when they didn't like segregate the standing bit.
There was no golden circle.
No like diamonds, VIP bit or whatever, you be at the front, special people at the front. It was, you had a ticket to stand on the pitch. You could go wherever you wanted. If you arrived late, you could go to the front if you had the balls, you know. You could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Mate, don't you miss those? I know it's safer now and all that kind of stuff. But you remember those days where you could just go wherever you wanted and it was just, everyone just packed in and you just got on with it. It's fantastic. Aerosmith, man.
I went to a few gigs at Old Wembley Stadium. I saw Bryan Adams there, supported by Delamitri.
Oh, nice.
I must have been 10 years old, maybe younger than that.
10?
So yeah, I wouldn't have been able to see much. And we had standing tickets as well. So I can't remember. I must have been watching on the screens or something like that. I saw the Eagles. Again, I was about 12 years old, probably younger than that.
So what was your first gig then?
That was, I was like six years old. March 1992. 6-year-old Dave.
Good Lord.
Got taken to Hammersmith Apollo by his parents with his older brother intact. And we watched, it was a seated show. So that was,
Yeah.
For a 6-year-old, not so bad. And it was Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Oh,
so
of course.
It was an acoustic show, so just the 3 of them with acoustic guitars. And I remember vividly projecting myself on stage at 6 years old and being like,
really?
I want to do that. I was hoping that they were going to pull me up and ask me to sing along and play, even though 1, I couldn't play the guitar, and 2, I probably knew the songs, but I wouldn't have had a clue what I was doing.
Back then when you're 6.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, but I remember actually thinking, I want to do that. I want them to pull me up on stage.
Wow.
And it's no surprise I ended up doing what I did. But yeah, Wembley, I used to love that. I saw Oasis there in 2000, one of the last gigs there.
Yeah.
Which became the Familiar to Millions album. Who was on that? Happy Mondays and the Doves were the support acts. But yeah, I saw a few. I went to see Net Aid there, which was like another attempt at doing like a big Live Aid thing, but it was, I can't remember what they called. Net Aid, yeah. So this was 2000. I was in year 10 and I had a broken wrist. So it may have been 2000, it may have been 99, it may have been before the millennium. It may have been. Anyway, it was around that. I was in year 10, broken wrist, down the front. Here's the lineup, Wembley Stadium. And everyone came out and did like 3 or 4 songs. the Eurythmics,
Ooh.
Catatonia,
Nice.
Stereophonics, George Michael, Robbie Williams, David Bowie.
Blimey.
Kid you not, David
Good
Bowie. Who
Lord.
else
What did
was
he
there?
say? What songs did he do?
I can't remember. I generally can't remember. And my first experience of a band called Bush.
Oh. Well, they never did anything.
Kid you not. And while they were on, no one knew who they were.
Right.
Like, other
They were
than
massive
about
in
10
America, weren't they?
There were about 10 kids over the right who knew who they were, and that was it in the whole stadium, like right in front of the stadium, about 10 kids down the front, knew who they were, loving every minute,
Yeah.
and that was literally it.
What, a 16 Stone come out?
Yeah, I think Razorback Suitcase was out.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that was the
so-
second out. Yeah.
Because obviously this was advertised to like people who liked Robbie Williams and stuff like that. So why the hell were Bush on
Mate.
that? But they were doing a show in Philadelphia at the same time. It was almost identical to like they were really trying to build up it as a Live Aid, and they should have been on that. I think more people would have known them over there.
Yeah.
Than that. But then, so then after that, I was like, who's this band Bush? Because I was a bit edgy. So I got into Bush, loved them, started, and then Nigel ended up producing, the guitarist ended up producing my first album, which is, and we became good mates, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And we talked about that Wembley gig. He was like, yeah, we shouldn't have been on that bill. No one had a clue. No one had a clue who we were. But they said that once they'd played Wembley, they were going to split up.
Dum-dum style. See, everyone was doing it.
Yeah, no. No, they didn't really. But that would have been funny.
Oh, mate. That's amazing.
The first gig I went to on my own, without my family,
Yeah.
although my dad did drive us there, was also Wembley, but it was Wembley Arena. And it was, I'm pretty sure this was the first one. It was the Stereophonics.
Wow.
Just
What year
after
was
the
that?
Performance and Cocktails come out. So it would have been 99, I think.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know Aerosmith was your first ever gig. I didn't know that. That's a great shout.
It wasn't meant to be. My first gig was meant to be the big day out at Milton Keynes Bowl, which was the weekend after that gig. But this one came up randomly because the guy at work had a ticket.
Who was at the big day out?
The Metallica were headlining,
Right, okay.
supported by like, Marilyn Manson and stuff like that. That was the gig where Marilyn Manson was wearing a corset and a thong, and he decided to turn around, bend over, and show everyone his arsehole.
I think I actually had a poster of that on my wall from Melody Maker because I thought it was so edgy that
Yeah, I had
it was
the
one of
Krang
it was
one.
definitely a poster in Melody Maker. I can't remember if I put it up or not, but I remember they actually made it as a poster.
Of
That
his
was from that
starfish.
gig.
Yeah, that was from that gig. Yeah, man.
Grim,
Happy days.
grim.
Yeah, pretty grim.
When you went to see Aerosmith, was that like a moment where you're like, I want to do that?
Oh, of course, yeah. I think I've been in bands. Well, how old was I? I was 17 then, and I'd been in
So you,
playing in a
Were you
band for a
Daystar?
couple of years by that. No, this was before. This was Narcosis. This was pre-Daystar. Yeah,
Nice.
I was lead singer in a band called Narcosis.
lead singer?
Yeah, man.
I did not know this. I didn't
didn't
know
play
this.
instruments back then. I only started playing guitar and bass in Daystar, which was the band after that.
Are there any recordings?
I don't know. This was digital, so maybe a cassette tape somewhere under a spare bed at my parents'
you've
house.
got to
maybe.
try and hunt that down. You've got to try and hunt that down. Just
Don't.
for the novelty.
Don't. I think members of that band listen to this podcast, so they might have something.
If they do, I would love to hear it. We don't have to make it public, but I would like to hear it. You as a teenager singing, you must have heard me as a teenager singing when I did my solo show. It's outrageously bad. I'm putting on this really weird accent. Oh, it's horrendous. I will upload it because it's so bad.
What kind of accent?
so bad. Like 2000 or 99, a gig I did, like solo gig, and it's horrendous. Oh my God, it's horrendous.
I want to hear that. Okay, we'll do a swap.
I'll upload it. Yeah, mate. And do you know where that venue was? The Hermit, which I come to see you play with Tat once.
Yes.
Yeah, and they used to record the gigs. And Paul at the back used to record the gigs so you could get a CD of your gig.
What legend.
So, of course, if you have any first gig stories you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear them because first gigs often mean a lot to people. And certainly mine was a big moment. And Nick, like the fact that you can remember all those bands and got such vivid memories. So if you have an interesting first gig story, we'd love to hear it. Please get in contact. All the usual ways: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, LinkedIn. Anyway, so we're here from the God.
Smoke signals.
Pigeon.
Old school. Yeah, homing pigeon would be great.
Send us a raven. Anyway.
Da, 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 da. Right, let's hear from the God, shall we?
Whiskey!
Hope everyone's enjoying, the fact it's just us two chatting. I enjoyed that last segment, Dave.
Yeah, it's nice that I'm learning stuff about you.
I know.
Didn't know you were in a band as a lead singer. What the hell?
Yeah. There's a reason for that. I don't shout about it, Dave. But shall we summon the Whisky God? See if he can tell us about his first gig. I remember my first beer. Hey God, he's just the clap of thunder and he's in. He usually does the Thor these days, but he's taking his time. Oh my God, where is he? God. Oh my God.
Is he asleep?
Sorry. The sound of your voices sends me into a deep slumber. You are quite boring when left to your own devices.
Well, that's just bloody rude.
Wow. And we invite you to speak to us every week, and that's how you treat us. That's just charming. Charming, God.
That's a bit harsh, mate. Just because we haven't had a guest on for the first time.
Yeah.
So I see. Run out of interesting friends already? Pitiful.
We've got loads of great mates, thank you very much. We just fancy to chat with each other this week.
Yeah.
But what amazing mates have you been chatting to then, God?
Yeah.
Well, I've been gallivanting with Frank Sinatra in the barley hills of the Whiskey Heavens as he regales me with his blasphemous love for Jack Daniels. So strange. I prefer a single malt myself. But old Blue Eyes has a way of convincing me otherwise. We've heard him sing, but have you heard him talk? He must be a whiskey god in another dimension.
You know what, he might.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, God. I think I'd much rather hear from him than you. Anyway.
Yeah, now with that tone, young man.
Yeah.
But the good thing is we do have a single malt this week for you to review.
Yes, none of that Jack Daniels stuff. So we don't need to for you to do any blasphemy yourself against yourself. Is that right? Anyway, what are your thoughts on the Glenlivet Founders Reserve?
The Glenlivet Founders Reserve. Tasting notes. On the eyes, a light hay-colored amber. On the nose, orange zest, apples, pears, maybe raisins or dates, and perhaps a kiss of sea salt. On the palate, Glenlivet Founders Reserve really presents as a typical Highland single malt. It is a Glen something, after all. Sweet, medium syrupy viscosity, a light anise or licorice lingers at the top of the experience before the apples and pears come back again. Roll it around the tongue and you'll find some caramel, toffee, even a little apple pie. On the finish, that caramel note warms up into a creaminess at the end. The sweet sugary quality turns almost into a dairy note, and the raisins almost into a hot cocoa. Overall, for a Highland malt, it is a refreshing change, or even a warming one. That's different for a Scotch of this region. All those caramel and fruit notes warming up into a creaminess instead of a typical afternote of ethanol. Add a little ice to turn that initial sweetness into a floral perfume, if you like. Ta-ta. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today.
Oh my God, yes!
Scotch and bourbon.
Wow.
That is incredible.
Wow.
God,
Just can't help it.
we love that. That's a beautiful song.
He just can't help singing, can he? Just cannot help singing. Well, thank you for that, Whisky God.
We'll hear more from the Whisky God next week, and hopefully we'll have another song too. Hopefully. Oh, Here's a funny thing about God. While we're talking about God, Kate Sharp from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, every time the God does a tweet, she says she can't help but read it in Whisky God voice, and it's really winding her up. Which I think is really wonderful. So don't forget, you can follow the Whisky God. Even though he's rude to us, we'll give him a shout out. You can follow him on Twitter at Whisky God and on Instagram at the.whisky.god. That's whiskey with no E, don't forget. So yeah.
I love that. It's like when you read Morgan Freeman's tweets or anything. Everything you can hear in his voice. He did mention there. Well, he didn't mention Speyside in that, did he? But then
no, he didn't.
He called it Highlands, which is technically correct. So I'm going to go
on the bottle. It says Speyside.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say Speyside anywhere on the bottle.
Where did I see it earlier then?
Yeah, this is why we've ended up doing 2 in a row, because we didn't know Glenlivet was a Speyside because it doesn't say it anywhere on the bottle.
In fairness, if you just put Glenlivet into Google, second up, the Glenlivet.com, the Glenlivet single malt Speyside Scotch whiskey. I mean, they've put it in their own website.
Yeah, but they don't.
You know, God doesn't even use Google.
He doesn't. Well, he doesn't have Google up there, does he?
Calls himself an expert. Doesn't even use Google.
No. Doesn't use the Google machine. But it doesn't say it on the bottle.
Google machine. Apparently, they have 14 copper pot stills, and the owner is Pernod Ricard. I think he was in Star Wars, wasn't he? Or Star Trek.
Oh, Jean-Luc Picard. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Pernod Ricard.
Glenlivet Founders Reserve. Make it so.
Amazing. Talking to people who would have good whiskey, good voices. Patrick Stewart would have a great. He would have a great Whisky God voice. Maybe one day we'll be able to do that.
Hopefully,
that would be amazing.
Hopefully we can sack this one.
The whiskey. Hey Nick, what have you been up to this week?
What have I been up to?
Anything? Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where I've got a few things in the pipeline, but nothing finished to kind of report. Like I've been recording a track with Dean DiCioso, our mutual friend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jared.
My drummer, Jared Sandy.
Yep. And Jess Muse, who we had on a few weeks ago.
The Whisky God's favourite.
Indeed, he do. We've been covering a really heavy tune, and I can't wait for it to come out.
So this is the kind of thing I'm not going to like, but I like everyone who's in it.
Yeah, you'll respect it, and you'll like everyone who's in it. It's not something I've heard you listen to, let's put it that way. But
yeah, I can't imagine it is.
But that's going to be finished very soon, and I can't wait to share that.
Nice, excellent.
So watch this space for that. But what have you been up to, Dave?
Well, I finished off that project I've spoken about the last couple of weeks. We don't normally get like too deep on this show, but I feel like I have to a little bit in order to talk about this because so we'll do it anyway. So I've been working on this project with the Americana Music Association, the UK Americana Music Association. In January, I was asked by them to do a songwriting workshop, or I applied and got not chosen to do a songwriting workshop, which was because the Americana conference, UK Americana conference every year is in Hackney. They wanted to do a community-based project, and rather than do something with the youth, which always get picked for these things, they decided to go the other way and found a group called the Hackney Elders, and we were paired up. We had 2 days at Cecil Sharp House, paired up with someone from that social group, and spent a couple of days getting to know them and wrote a song with them.
Yeah.
About story of their life. And I had a song called Maggie Knows about this wonderful woman called Maggie, which is actually going to come out at some point next month, which I'm really pleased with how Nick, you recorded on it.
I know, I'm on it. I'm on that one. Love it.
You are.
It's a great tune, man.
And
such a great tune.
As a result of that, there was a little film made, and as a result of that, Hackney Council got in contact with the Americana Music Association and said, would you like to do something with us for our Windrush, what they call it, the Windrush Generations Festival, which is happening in June. And now this was all made before COVID. COVID came along, and the original plan by the Americana Association was that they'd get 6 new songwriters and pair them up and blah, blah, blah. Then lockdown happened, and obviously they wanted to still do it, but it was going to have to happen in isolation. So they decided to ask the same 6 who did the first one, just because we roughly knew what we were trying to achieve out of it.
Totally.
So this was about a month ago. We had a little chat and said, would you all be interested? And all of us weren't doing anything. So we're like, yeah, cool. Sounds great. So we got paired up. and rather than do it over 2 days, you were kind of given a few weeks to kind of do this and have many chats with, or as many chats as you needed to with the person you were paired up with. So I was paired up with this guy called Ngoma Bishop. Now, before I even get started, I want to make it clear, I did not really know what the Windrush thing was.
Right.
I remember the scandal a couple of years ago, and I even said this within our group chat. I was like, I'm really sorry, and this is going to sound really ignorant, but I remember there was a scandal a couple of years ago, but I didn't really follow it. I didn't really keep my eyes on it, and I don't really know what Windrush is. So we had a big conversation with the group. I did some research myself and found out more. So, and this was after I'd agreed to do it. So it turns out that the Windrush essentially was a boat that brought people over from the West Indies or the Caribbean to the UK in the 50s and 60s when they were trying to rebuild London and UK after the economy after the war. There was a lot of jobs available, a lot of work to be done, and we were short on workforce because we'd lost so many boys in the war. So we reached out to the Commonwealth and said, come to our country. Amazingly, it was Enoch Powell who later tried to get everyone to go home quite badly, but he was the one. He was the Home Secretary who tried to encourage all these people to come over. So they did, and there was all this like propaganda. It's the promised land, and there's streets paved of gold, and all this, that, and the other. Come over, you can work for a few years, then go home, and you'll like take all this money with you, and blah 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 blah. So of course they come over and they get mistreated. On the whole, they get paid a certain amount of money that barely covers their rent. So then the families have to come over, and Ngoma was one of those kids that got brought over.
Oh, okay.
And the scandal is that happened a couple of years ago is these people were brought over and told they were citizens, and then they weren't given any paperwork though. And then a couple of years ago, they tried to say to these people, present paperwork to prove you're supposed to be here or go home.
Yeah.
Which is quite outrageous, bear in mind they were brought over as kids.
This is all they've
no
known.
Paperwork, like it was all over. Yeah, it was over their head. They didn't have lives back in the islands that they were from. So I was speaking to this guy called Ngoma and was learning about his story. He came over as an 8-year-old in 1963. He hadn't seen it when he got to Heathrow Airport because he flew over. Like he was brought over on the plane. He didn't even recognise his parents because they'd been over for so long.
Jesus Christ.
So. Like that's that kind of thing that was going on, and so he was a stranger in his own home. And this guy was wonderful. He was so good. Like he's a poet in his own right, 65 years old, and he was giving me all this poetry and all these lyric ideas he had, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Now, I very early on said to him, Ngoma, I'm a little bit concerned about this project, and he was like, "Why?" It's like because I'm a white guy who's about to tell a black guy's story of struggle, and I'm a bit concerned about that, just because. You know, the visuals of that aren't great. You know, I'm not trying to save you. I'm not telling a story which you can't tell yourself. And he said something really nice to me. He said, Dave, we've spent some time getting to know each other. Me telling you my story means you're now part of my story.
Oh, wow.
So you're allowed to tell it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fair enough. I can take that. So I've written this song. We've written this song together. I'm going to make that absolutely clear. And we continue to write the song together. Although it's finished, we continue to work on it together. We're going to get his brother to play flute on it. He knows some musicians that are going to play on it, like from his side of things. And it's been a wonderful collaboration. Now, the reason I want to mention it today is because yesterday, Hackney Council put up on their website the page where the 6 songs that were written as part of this have all gone up to a page with videos, little performance videos of each one, bit about the songwriter, a bit about the person it's been written about.
Oh, amazing.
And it's wonderful. Yeah, and the 6 songs are all completely different. We've all learnt so much. And of course, everything that's going on with race relations has all come out in the middle of this. So we've all been having a lot deeper conversations within our little group, learning more. For me, I've learnt so much about the Windrush story and the struggles. I think one of the most powerful things Ngoma said to me, so he would have been going to school in the late 60s, early 70s. So he said at secondary school, he made the fatal error of being clever and black.
Okay.
And that really got me. So he said the stories.
So how did they treat him then?
So he was put in the top set, but he said there were other clever black kids, but they only allowed one to go in the top set. So because they separated him from the others, he then didn't fit in with those other kids.
Yeah.
They then looked up at him as if he was getting special treatment, but the teachers were also giving him treatment as if to say, we don't want you here. We don't like. So he couldn't win either way.
Yeah.
And if like he said the stories were so bad I can't even tell them.
Right.
Like I don't even want to revisit that about how bad it was being at school and being clever and as a black person at that time.
Wow.
And it's just like and it was just the whole experience was so eye-opening because one, I went into this not knowing anything about Windrush or what it was. Obviously, I knew we had a connection with the people from the Caribbean coming over in that time, but I didn't know much about it. And then how it's all gone down since and what has happened in his life. And I bought his book because he's got a poetry book and there's some great stuff in there. There's some really wonderful stuff. And so his name's Ngoma Bishop, and I will share the video and the link to the other songs and the webpage in our little note bits, but also on our socials this week.
What's his book called?
His book is called, it's co-wrote with a friend. It's called The Whole Story. Poetry and Anecdotes by Ngoma Bishop and his mate Omar Ra. And there's some wonderful stuff in here. Like this one again, it seems it's called Hope Protected. At times it seems like there is so much to write that there is no point in writing, so much to learn there is no point in learning, so much to say there is no point in talking, so far to go there is no point in walking, so little hope there's no point in hoping. Yet we write and we learn and we talk and we walk and we hope and we never stop coping. Wow. And like it's just really cool stuff to hear right now to inspire you and it's been a very, very great project to be part of, and I'm honoured and thank the Americana Association for having us. The first project wasn't about one particular subject, but the fact we've focused on this, and especially at a time like with everything that's going on, it's been really a big learning experience for all of us, for sure. And as I said, the other songs are like the 6 songs, and they're all completely different, and they've all focused on different things, and they're full of hope. A lot of them are all full of hope. So it's not although it's dark time, like it's a dark subject matter on the whole, it's quite an uplifting thing to go and have a look. And these stories and these people whose stories have been shared here are worth checking out.
Yeah, amazing.
Anyway, should we crack on? I don't really know how we get back to the show after that. We could use the old Anna Jones trick. And finally,
you're listening to the Whiskey and Things podcast.
Look at that, Dave.
So
13.
Another show.
13.
Show 13.
Yeah.
No guest, but no problem.
Mate, brushed it off.
We haven't had a problem.
Brushed it off.
I got 2 things I just quickly want to share from social media, people who've got in contact. Our good friend of the pod, George, after our Talisker episode, has said he's not much of a whiskey drinker, but I will try anything that explodes on the tongue. So I'll definitely have to try a Talisker.
Oh, George.
That's the kind of tasting note we like. And also, we've heard from your fan club. Kate, leader of your fan club, has been catching up.
About time.
And she said, been playing catch up on Whiskey and Things.
Yeah.
How the hell I got so far behind when I have no life, I don't know. And I generally can't decide what's funnier, the pure filth Nick comes out with or Dave laughing at him.
Me? It's like
Apparently
filth
so,
coming
Nick.
out of me.
Apparently.
It's all coming from the comments. All the filth. Thank you very much. I'm the one reining it in. So, I'm reining it in.
Reining it? He does rein me in. In fairness, he reins me in. But thanks to everyone who's got in contact. We've had a couple of extra reviews on Apple this week as well, which has been lovely to see.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Please keep those reviews coming in. Make sure you press like on our socials and come and if you really want to, come get involved in our Patreon page as well.
Yeah.
Coming soon, t-shirts. Anyway, what's going on next week, Nick?
Yeah. Oh, next week. Right. We've, like buses, Speyside whiskies are coming in 2s after we've waited the entire series to do one. So next week we're doing the Dal Winnie. It's got a WH in it. Dal Winnie. Dal Winnie. 15-year-old single malt.
Very
now,
nice.
I've had a
Looking
little
forward to
taste of this, Dave, and it's like nothing we tasted before. It's
okay. Well, I can't wait.
It's beautiful.
Is this our oldest we've done yet? We've done a 15, have we? How old's the Lagavulin?
That was 16.
16, wasn't it? So,
but still, it's up there. But this one's gorgeous. It's like nothing else you've ever smelt. It's fresh. It's floral. More pears, but more peary than the one we've had this week. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next week. So yes,
I'm excited now.
The Dal Winnie. 15.
So if anyone has any opinions, please get in contact. We'd love to share them.
Yes, please.
And hear them.
I'd love to hear them.
And we don't know what our things are going to be. But we hope that you've enjoyed this alternate take on what whiskey and things can be. And
we're going to have more guests. We might just do them
we'll have more
once
guests.
a month.
Of course we
every
will.
couple of weeks, depending. We want them to be good, and it's going to be great. Shut up. Stop doubting us. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, have a bit of positivity,
Have a
will
bit
ya?
of positivity in the
Jeez.
world.
Oh my God.
We're professionals.
Anyway, cheers. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.
Whiskey and Things has been brought to you by And Things Productions.